Thanks for joining us. I'm Anne-Marie Green. We are just learning about an emergency landing in Buffalo, New York. SkyWest Airlines Flight 5622 departed from Chicago earlier today. It was headed to Connecticut, but in the middle of the flight, the captain declared an emergency and diverted to Buffalo. Now, Jeff Pegues is following this incident for us, and he's following us from Washington, rather. Jeff, what can you tell us about the latest? I know things are just unfolding right now.
Well, it sounds like a real terrifying ride for the passengers on board that plane. I was looking at the data on FlightAware, which tracks the path of the flight and also the altitude. And what we're seeing is the plane took off, as you said, after about 10 a.m. this morning from Chicago O'Hare, but at mid-flight, it was about 37,000 feet up, and something happened. We're told, according to the FAA, that the crew reported a loss of pressurization and declared an emergency. And from tracking the path of this flight, all of a sudden, at about 11:10 a.m., the plane made a quick drop from 37,000 feet all the way down to about 10,000 feet in 5 to 7 minutes. That's according to data that we're seeing right now on a website called FlightAware, which tracks the progress of these flights all across the country. So as you said, this was a SkyWest Airlines flight 5622. It was supposed to head to Bradley International Airport right outside of Hartford, Connecticut, but it didn't make it there. It landed instead after being diverted at Buffalo's airport. It landed safely. We're still trying to get information on the condition of the crew and the passengers, but this is quite unusual for something like this to happen mid-flight. Again, the crew reported a loss of pressurization, and in situations like that, the oxygen mask will drop down, and the pilot tries to get the plane down to a lower altitude, and it looks like that's what happened in this case.
So right now, no reports of injuries, or we're still waiting to hear?
Well, we're still trying to gather information on the condition of the passengers and the crew. There have been reports that we have not confirmed that at least one passenger may have lost consciousness. Again, we're trying to confirm that information. There are reports out there that happened, but we're trying to get that information ourselves, and we're trying to get the latest information on the condition of the crew and the passengers for that matter. But this is an emergency landing that we're hearing about from the FAA. It happened. The plane landed at about 11:40 a.m. It did land safely, and we're trying to get the latest as it comes in.
All right, Jeff Pegues working hard to get us the information. Thank you very much. Well, former chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board, Mark Rosenker, is on the phone. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a little information from Jeff Pegues about what we think may have happened. Jeff said that taking a look at FlightAware.com, it seems like there was a loss of pressure, that the plane dropped from 37,000 feet to 10,000 feet in about 5 to 7 minutes. I know it's very early on, but can you give us an idea of what are the possible things that could go wrong that would cause a plane to drop that rapidly?
Well, there are a number of things that could have created the problem, but the reality is that the pilots trained for these kinds of rapid decompressions, and that's how we ended up getting a successful outcome. The objective, of course, is to get the aircraft down as quickly as possible below the 10,000-foot mark so that they can then get oxygen back into the aircraft for the passengers. They can get off the oxygen if that's what's required. The pilots themselves, as soon as something like this happens, they don their oxygen masks. The other masks will fall into the cabin where the passengers will quickly put them on. As Jeff indicated, there may have been a passenger who might not have gotten his mask on quickly enough and may have passed out from lack of oxygen. But clearly the crew is trained for these kinds of events, and clearly they implemented their emergency procedures, diverted to the nearest airport, and safely landed the aircraft.
So now it's time to figure out what went wrong. You know how the NTSB operates. What's the protocol? How will they investigate this?
Well, at this point, they're going to be working closely with the FAA, the airline. They have the crew to be able to talk with. They'll interview passengers. They'll send an investigator, maybe a number of investigators, to the site, and they will end up beginning the investigation along with the FAA.
So will they be talking to crew, talking to passengers, taking a look at the mechanics of the plane?
They'll be looking at the aircraft itself, but also, very importantly, they'll be doing a breakdown of the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. They'll be sending those back to Washington for analysis.
All right, Mark Rosenker, former chair of the NTSB, now transportation safety analyst for CBS News. Thank you so much.
Anytime.